Hi, my name is Ethan Haynes, and this is part 2 of building our text adventure. This is the state of the application as I left it off in the first video. I went ahead and just to save some time, I ended up constructing a little object that is going to hold our chapters, which is going to consist of questions that it's going to ask the user, answers that it's going to present the user with, and then something to handle the response. And then as well, it's going to be something that's going to measure our progress. The things that I figured we could start implementing just to kind of get things rolling, we have get question, get answer, get answers, get response, increment progress, get progress, and start chapter. So we can go ahead and just copy all this and just add it over here in our application, and we can start building this out. So first thing we'll do is we'll just get rid of this guy because, now that we know, kind of how to do that and how to read answers and how we're going to write answers, we can start making it a little bit more appropriate for the game. So let's just start out with get question. So what I want to do is I want to present a user with a question, and I want a function that's going to be able to do that. So I'm using ES6 arrow syntax, and what I'll do is I'm going to need to get the state, right? So this object that has state in it. And I'm going to need to, in it, get the chapter that I'm on. So I'll get chapters. And then chapters, it contains an array of objects. And the specific chapter that I need comes from state.progress. So whichever chapter I'm in, that's going to be represented here in this progress. And then at that point, I've gotten to whichever object in the array I need, and then I just access question. This is going to return, say I'm on chapter 1, it's going to return this guy right here. It's going to pick out this value from this key inside of this object, and it's going to return that. With ES6, there is an implicit return to these arrow functions. I can do it this way just to kind of show that it's similar to the function syntax when I have these brackets, but if I don't have the brackets, it implicitly does that. So it saves you a couple keystrokes, but we'll just leave that in there just for clarity. Cool, so we implemented that one, so we can take out that to do. The next one would be get answer. So let's go ahead and get the answer that we need. Let's do get answers first. So get answers would be all the answers that are available to them. Return state dot chapters. We're going to get state dot progress to get the chapter that we're on, and then we're going to get the answers instead. And that's simple enough. The next one would be get answer. So this would be I, as a user, have given an answer. It's evaluated to actually be an answer that we care about, and now I want to get that specific answer in the array of answers. I want that actual value. So with that, it's pretty similar to get answers, which we can actually use this guy, right? So we can use him, and then at the end, we just get the actual index that they're looking for. So that saves us a few keystrokes. And now we want the response. What the response is going to be is that response is actually a function that takes a value that's going to push it into this template string. So for example, if I chose sword, it would say you picked the sword, and I would call that function and pass the value in. So with this guy, I can do get response equals, and it's the value, and then that one is going to be very similar to this guy up there, right? So it's going to be return state dot chapters at state dot progress dot response, and we're calling that, and we're passing in the value. Next would be increment the progress. So this one is a function, and this guy, we're not going to return anything. We're just going to actually increase the progress by 1 when we go through the chapter next. So with this guy, this one's a little easier. It's just state.progress, and then I can do plus plus notation on there. And that's just going to increment state's progress. Next thing would be get progress. So we'll do this, and then we'll return state.progress. And then start chapter. So start chapter, what this is going to do is it's going to actually pull all this kind of stuff together so we can start getting the behavior that we want out of the application. So what that's going to do is it's going to log to start out. It's going to get the question that we want, and it's going to get that question and then log it for the user, and then we want the answers. So what we can do there is we can do, oh whoops, so this one looks like I have get answers twice. I don't need that. So get answers is what I want. So I can do get answers, and then because that's going to return an array of answers, right? So I can perform a map operation on it. So I have my item, and then my index, and then what I'm going to do, just to get the kind of the same output that we had before, is I'm going to log using our template strings. I'm going to do I, colon, and then the item that we want. So what that's going to do is it's going to present the question, it's going to get the answer, and then it's going to log that out in the I, colon, item fashion. And that's going to be what our start chapter is. And then what we want too is that all the way down here, we can call start chapter at the end, and that's going to kick it off every time that it's successful. What we did too is, so upon being successful, we're checking please enter a number, and then we also want to know, we want to increment the progress, right? Start the next round of the chapter. And then what we want to do is we want to get the answer that they gave us. So this guy right there. So get answer. And what that's going to do is if they chose sword, it's going to grab sword out of there. So then we also want to get the response. Pass the answer into the response. So just to make this a little bit more explicit for you guys, I'll just put this into a variable. And then I'm going to do get response, pass in the answer. And what that's going to do is that's going to, they type a response, we're then going to present the answer, right? We're going to say, okay, cool, so this is my response. You said this, right? And then after that, we can just log out, some spacing, just so that we have a little bit of separation in the terminal. Let's just do that like twice. And then after that, we'll increment the progress and start the next chapter. So let's just go ahead and see if that works. Oh, and then one thing we want to do is kick off the entire thing, right? So we want to kick off the whole process by just saying start chapter. I actually want to have this guy up here, like that. So looks good. Let's see if it works. So node app. You're going on an adventure. Okay, well let's do 2. Cool, you picked the hammer. You were attacked by goblins. What do I want to do? Fight them off? Run from them? Do nothing. Let's do 2. You decided to do nothing. Okay, cool. You walked into a murky swamp. Let's explore. Now you just decided to explore. You were challenged to duel. You were challenged to a duel by a nobleman. What do you want to do? Accept the duel? Decline the duel? Kick the nobleman in the shins and take his stuff. Let's do that. That sounds fun. Cool. And then, as you can see at the end, we have an index out of bounds exception. So the reason for that is that our progress, we're just continuing to check it over and over and over again, all the way until we get to the end, and then at the end we're trying to progress over here in our state has increased by a length that is greater than this array. So what we want to do is we just want to end it. So that's easy enough. Process.exit, and we'll say if progress is greater than or equal to state.chapters.length. So let's try that out again. So app 1, 1, 1, 1. Cool. So that ends the application for us. And what we can do is just, before we do that, we can just log you win. There we go. Fix some spacing. So that's kind of the next phase is kind of complete. So now we have the ability to make chapters. We have the ability to give a response to the choice that the user made. We have the process to give answers. We have a way of measuring our progress. And then we have some helper functions just to kind of do all that. So the next thing that we can do in the next video is we can start adding, a little bit more to our state. So we can start adding things that start measuring maybe the user's score, or they can possibly give different alternatives that we can do based on users' input. So if they chose to use the sword, they may get different options later down, in the rest of the application. And then what we'll do as well is we'll start breaking this apart into separate files so that it's not all just in one gigantic app.js file. It's broken up into a few more files that follow the separation of concerns principle, so that we're not having everything all in one file, all managed here, because you can end up getting a lot of redundancies that way. So we'll start separating those out, and then we'll start exploring Node.js, its version of modules, and we'll start seeing how to export and import various modules. So that'll be in video 3 of Text Adventure. So stay tuned.